Hello, I'm Mark Archibald from First Baptist Church, and with me today is Adrian Gardner from Canadian Baptist Ministries. Now, Adrian, for someone who doesn't know much about Canadian Baptist Ministries, how would you explain Canadian Baptist Ministries to them?
Yeah, thanks, Mark, for this chance to connect. CBM, or Canadian Baptist Ministries, everything we do is about equipping local churches to live out the gospel in word and deed. We are made up of somewhere around 1,000 churches across Canada who have decided that together we can make an impact on the global stage by proclaiming in word and demonstrating in deed the good news of Jesus. So we work in about 17 countries in the areas of building the church, alleviating poverty, working towards justice, caring for kids at risk, and this year especially responding to crisis.
Great. And so with CBM and all the great work that it does, what is your role within Canadian Baptist Ministries?
So my role is on the Canadian side. I direct our Canadian programming, and everything that our team is doing is about helping churches like First Baptist Lethbridge connect meaningfully with our partners around the world. In the past, there was a sort of a pay and pray model for global mission where churches in the West would fund and pray for churches in the majority world. We really believe that the relationship now in mission engagement should be mutual, where the church in our case in Canada engages in relationship with the church in the majority world and serves and learns together. Because I think the church in Canada has much to learn from our friends in the global South.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely true. I know that's been the case for us for several years now. We've sent a short-term team to Cuba through Canadian Baptist Ministries. And we're grateful for your help with that. And also we have found that we have learned an incredible amount from them, and they really appreciate the partnership in terms of what we do with them and in terms of just our presence and being with them at those times.
Great example of partnership for sure.
Yeah, so it's very enjoyable it's very exciting for us actually, and so hopefully it is for them too. But so this year, as we do every year in October, we do our Thanksgiving offering with our church. So we support a number of different projects through that. Two of those projects this year are related to Canadian Baptist Ministries. We have one project that we're supporting in Lebanon and one project we're supporting in Cuba. Can you speak to each of those projects? Let's start with the program in Lebanon that we'd be supporting this year.
Sure. Lebanon is a country that has experienced and is experiencing crisis on top of crisis on top of crisis on top of crisis. For many years now, there's the Syrian refugee crisis where 1 out of every 4 people in Lebanon is a Syrian refugee.
Oh, really?
The impacts that has played. There's a political crisis where there's political corruption. Actually, since in recent days, the government's actually resigned. There's an economic crisis where the currency is extremely devalued. Throw on top of this a health crisis of COVID-19, and the numbers are going up quite a bit, and they're experiencing all of the same effects that a lot of our partners are in terms of lockdown and economic loss. And then on top of all of this, on August the 4th, there was just that devastating explosion that we saw, the footage in the news. Thankfully, the loss of life was relatively small. Still 200 people died, but the material damage, just incredible. It's in this context that the church is responding in just incredible ways, stepping into that gap to be the compassionate hands and feet of Jesus. And we're working through, we've been overwhelmed so far by the generosity of Canadian churches and the continued giving to this fund. We're responding through providing immediate basic needs, housing. The seminary has opened their dorms that are empty because of COVID. They've opened them to house people whose homes have been damaged, providing food, doing basic reconstruction. One of the areas that we're working that's not as evident right away, you think, okay, the basic needs are repairing the glass, the walls, the doors, the buildings, but actually we're working a lot with kids because they're experiencing trauma. They've been traumatized by the images, the devastation. Even a friend of mine, Joe Breedy, who's our national staff person, said that even like in the Civil War, the devastation wasn't like this. So,
Hmm.
so your support of this effort will go to house people who are homeless. It will go to help do renovations and reconstruction on their homes. It will go to provide psychosocial support for kids through counseling, through camps in a box. Yeah, that's some of the things that we're doing as we work with our incredible partners there, all in the name of Jesus.
Hmm. Well, excellent. And then describe a bit what about the work in Cuba that we'd be supporting through our Thanksgiving offering as well.
For sure. So Cuba is a bit of a different story, but Cuba is experiencing, as much of the world in that area of the world is experiencing, difficulties related to COVID-19. So as you know, Cuba is a beautiful country and relies a lot on tourism dollars, both the formal tourism dollars that come when people pay for their vacation package and things like that, but also the informal tourism economy, where people are, selling and relying on those foreign visitors. Well, that's dried up. In addition, the government had to do, back in the early days of the pandemic, there was a pretty significant lockdown. It's like other countries, it's being lightened and tightened as it needs to. But in that context, people are hungry, and we've asked your church, and your church will be supporting the food relief efforts in the Havana area. We're supporting approximately 130 households with monthly food support through our local church partner, Feedback, who you know well.
Yeah.
Church as well. So we're grateful both for your support of the relief of this explosion in Lebanon, and just that ongoing COVID crisis and the effects of lockdown in Cuba.
All right. Well, we look forward to supporting those things through that Thanksgiving offering. And we're grateful for CBM for connecting us with those projects. But also, I know people at our church have gone both to Lebanon and to Cuba through Canadian Baptist Ministries, and they've really had their eyes open to a lot of what the world is like, and really been inspired of what it means to follow Jesus in our current day and in places around the world. So we're very grateful for your work with that, and we're grateful for our partnership with CBM. And we look forward to helping in these ways where it's really needed. So thank you for your time today, Adrian.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to share, and for your continued support as a church. We really value that.
All right. Great. Thank you very much.